I'm really nervous. Hey, that's Romania Black. I couldn't wait. Surprising no one. No, I watched episode 24 yesterday. And I thought today, the whole day at work, I was like, you could wait. You could wait. The whole day at work, I was like, you could wait, Romania. You could just wait a little bit longer. Oh, no. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no, I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait. No, not going to. I've got to know what's going to happen to Elle. Because this is bad. It's really bad. So, I don't get good vibes. And I'm terrified at the prospect that Elle could die in this episode. But he very well could. If we're going by old Kingo in the last set of comments, the last episode, if we're going by his thing about, there being 4 acts in the Japanese literary structure, and we're in the midst of Act 3, which is the turn, a major turn in this story could be Elle dying. Very much so. Very much so. So that's terrifying. Would I think this creator would kill off Elle? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's just something off, right? Something doesn't feel quite right with Elle, and I can't quite put my finger on it. And I'm going to try to talk to y'all a little bit before we start this episode, but I don't really have any notes from anyone because I'm watching this the day after episode 24, but I do have some notes I made. I watched the English dub. The English dub was great. I will say this. Brad Swain has done an amazing job as Light in the English dub, but I went back and rewatched the Japanese dub for episode 24. It's hard to top Miyano Mamoru. Whenever he turns back into Light and Miyano's like, just as planned, and he has like his voice turns sinister and has that cadence. Oh, that's like the most sinister, insane, Brad tries and he does really good as Light, but Miyano, he sold that last episode. That transformation back to the Light that we've known up until episode 14 or 15. Now he sells that really well. Can't top it, but it was hard. But rewatching the English dub, I did have a few things come to light that I wanted to make note of before we start this episode. It was interesting. So I was thinking about this too. What if the rules in the Death Note were added on by other humans as they've gone? I thought about that. What if the humans that have inherited the Death Note just kept writing? Because it seems like the Shinigami don't care, right? The Shinigami don't care about the rules. They're just having to keep the rules because they're in the Death Note and they're kind of bound to them. But they don't seem to care or be discriminate on who they kill and who they don't. So what if these rules were just written by humans or other species that got the Death Note, and they just, once you write the rule in there, it goes along with all the other Death Notes. So I thought about that. That would be kind of a cool twist if Elle thinks that he's got Light right where he wants him. If he's like, oh, I'll prove you're lying by looking at these other Death Notes, and then he opens it up and they're all the same. But then that would freak Light out, because then that means the rule I've created is now a rule that's embedded in the Death Note. We have to follow it. So that would be like a thing where, oh, okay, I wrote that we have to keep killing every 13 days or we'll die. Now we have to do that because I added that rule. It's almost like he wanted to be a god and now he is. So now what do you do? Because I thought about that. I'm like, the rule about that you had to be a certain age before the Death Note comes into effect. Why would a Shinigami or a king of Shinigami care? So it seems like a rule that was written by like a mom or something that was like, oh, don't kill my baby. They have to be older than the baby's age for it to take place. I don't know. It just seems like it would be a cool twist if the rules were written by humans or by other species and the Shinigami just had to follow them. That'd be a nice little caveat that you can be a death god, but you have to follow the rules created by others. That would be, and it kind of tie that whole sense of justice factor that Light kind of tries to counter in this entire series. So I thought that'd be kind of cool, but I don't know if it'll turn up like that or not. We'll see by the end of the series, but I thought about that. Miyano's VA work, top notch, so good. Rem saying but. I had like a whole thing on Whiteboard Coon in the last episode about like, what did Rem mean by but? And then rewatching the English dub, it made more sense because Rem's like, well, Light got his memories back if he touches the Death Note. And in the English dub, it says, however. And I was like, oh, Rem is just talking about, she's wondering how Light's going to keep his memories because he would have to kill Higuchi while holding the Death Note for it to work. And she's like, how's he going to do that? And then we find out how. So that made more sense. Light. It's interesting because Light makes note, again, I talked about it with Whiteboard Coon and I was kind of stumped about it. And the more I thought about it, Light being like, well, I would probably try to help catch Kira because that's just the way I am. That's the insane part. It's like you're a little hypocritical, Light, because you're acknowledging that you yourself, and maybe hypocritical is not the right word, but he's acknowledging that he himself has this strong sense of justice to the point where he would want to help, catch this mass murderer, Kira. The irony is now he's the mass murderer, Kira, but he thinks it's totally fine because he's a god. And it's like, it's like, Light, you're kind of being hypocritical, just ever so slightly, right? And the fact that he's self-aware about it makes it even worse. He knows that he's like this. And it's like, well, what do we do? Miyano's according to plan is so sinister. Brad is good, but Miyano nails that sinister angle. He really does. And then the English dub, it's made note that whenever Elle is asking Rem about, well, what about the other death notes? Do they all have the same rules? Light, he makes a little snide comment. And in the English dub, the tone of it is much more apparent. And it's that Light is certain that Rem is not going to admit that a rule is fake. He's certain that Rem's not going to tattle on him. But I don't know. Now that Light has gotten Misa's life halved, and it really is Light's fault because he's driven her to the point where he made her believe that she had to kill Elle in order to win his affection. So Light knew the extent she would go to make this work. And he's like, okay, sure. And I have a feeling that Rim's like, wait, what? Why did you let this happen? What did you tell Misa to do? I thought she was staying out of this now. I'm not so sure Rim wouldn't tell Elle. I'm not so sure she wouldn't, especially if she thought Misa was in danger. And I'm just wanting, what I'm getting at with Elle is that either it's going two different ways in this coming episode. Either Elle is stumped and he really believes that he can't win against Light. He's having his tower moment. He was stacking up the creamers. He's having his tower moment where he's about to fall off the edge because he believes that this is something supernatural. It's not something that logic alone can solve anymore. And that seems to have always been Elle's kind of downfall, is that Light accepted the Shinigami within 2 seconds of meeting Ryuk. He accepted everything, was totally fine with the Death Note. Supernatural stuff, what? Totally ready, prepared to board the alien ship was Light. And Elle, it's always been something he's struggled with in this series, is admitting that there could be a higher power or something divine or supernatural. And so either Elle is admitting defeat, being like, this is beyond me, and Light has power into something that I can't rationally solve, and he's just given up, which I get by the end of the episode, it looks like Elle sees the writing on the wall, they're gonna kill me. I feel like that's what he thinks. So either he's given up, or Elle is trying to figure out a last-ditch effort, but it might be doing something that he doesn't want to do because it might hurt Misa or might get somebody hurt that he doesn't want to do that to. And so I don't know. I refuse to believe that Elle's going to give up and just let Light kill him without trying to save himself. But at the same time, this is kind of going beyond whatever Elle thought he was capable of. So I don't know. I don't know, y'all. I don't know! I'm just really worried about Elle because I don't want him to die. He's my favorite character in this show. I love Light. He's endearing. But I've been trying not to be biased, but I had to bring out the sweets because I'm kind of Team Elle, and I don't want him to die. So I'm trying not to be biased, but... And I don't want Elle to die because him and Light have such good chemistry, even if you ship them or not. It's like Sherlock and Moriarty. You don't want Moriarty to die. That's the thing. You don't want Moriarty to die in the series because him and Sherlock have such great chemistry and they're so fun to watch back and forth with. That's you can't have one without the other. And I feel like with this series, you can't have Light without Elle. And you can't spell Light without Elle. Otherwise, it's just Ite. It's not the same. About to spit that back up. So yeah, I don't know, but I couldn't wait. I was like, no, I didn't want to be spoiled. I was afraid somebody would try to spoil something in the comments for episode 24, and I didn't want to wait on that. And I honestly, if I'm being totally honest, I just want to know what happens. And if they leave us on a damn cliffhanger in this episode too, I'm gonna lose it. So, but yeah, so I hope you all enjoy this. I've wasted 10 minutes. We've wasted enough time. Let's not waste any more, shall we? Oh my God. So I'm going to just break the Band-Aid off and we're going to hope everything's going to be fine. But we're going to start episode 25 of Death Note. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And I'll see y'all on the other side. Look, I'm not going to cry because Elle's not dead. He can't be! He can't be! We didn't get to know his name, so he can't be, right? No, we didn't get to know his name, so he can't be dead. I refuse to believe that Elle is dead. No! No. And Rem! Rem's gone! This is some Game of Thrones shit! You can't just throw this, you can't kill Rem, Elle, and Watari in one episode after nothing's happened for the last 7 and expect me to be okay? I wore this rainbow shirt to give me good vibes, but I'm straight up not having a good time, bro, with this episode and with light. Okay, we need to talk about this. I don't want to cry, but I'm so heartbroken. Okay, I'm gonna calm down. I'm not joking. There have been a few times where I watched an episode and the next day I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and react to the next episode because I need to. No, this is like the first time in any show that I've watched for any series on this channel that I watched one episode one day, the next day watched this episode, and now I'm contemplating, it's not that late tonight. I could go ahead and watch episode 26. I could go ahead and watch it. I really could. I'm really debating it, honestly, because I'm like, there has to be something else. There has to be more to it than that. That can't just be the end of him. It can't just be that Light came back and killed him and nothing else. There was too much with the symbolism in this episode, and there was stuff with Misa going on, and then Rem. When Misa asks where Rem is, what is he going to tell her? That she died? How's that going to work? How's he going to cover that? How's that going to happen? How is he going to do that? What's he going to tell her? Mess. I am a hot mess after this episode, and I'm trying to hold it together. I'm gonna watch episode 26 after this. I'm sorry. Those of you that have made comments on episodes 24 and 25 and gonna be 26, don't worry, I'll catch up. We'll catch up to them. I may watch episode 26 and then take a little time off and catch up to your comments. Sure, fine. Or I'll just keep saving all the comments, and when we watch the Netflix movie, I'll just have a whole slew to get through before we even start to it. But, oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm floored that Watari died, that Elle died, and Rem is gone. I was for sure that Rem and Elle were gonna team up and tag team this. I had lofty goals and ambitions, and Light said, you sweet summer child. I don't give a shit about any of these people. We didn't know Elle's name, though. We didn't learn his name. And I feel like a character like Elle that we've built up this entire series, we didn't know his name. Wouldn't we learn at the very end? Wouldn't we see Rem writing it in the book? Wouldn't we see it? But we didn't. So the only thing giving me hope, now obviously, but yeah, that is the only thing giving me hope, is that we did not learn Elle's name. And we will probably not be able to know because Watari erased all the data and Watari was the only one that knew. So now that Watari's dead and Elle's dead, then there's no way, right? So we'll never know, but we find out somehow. So I am in stark denial that Elle is actually 100% dead. I don't know. Okay, we need to go through this episode. What do we do? Okay. Turn that off. So yeah, So this episode, so there's something going on. There's a lot of symbolism in this episode. And it from the very beginning of this episode, it's the writing on the wall that Elle knows he's going to die. I figured that at the end of the last episode, Elle knew that he's like, I'm probably going to die. He's like, I was so close to catching Light and Misa as the Kiras. I was so close to catching them and proving that they were them. And he's like, if I hadn't been bold and done that, they would have killed me. And they were on their way. So here's the deal. Look at before, like post, let's do before. We'll do a before and after thing. So before, Elle was close to catching Light and Misa. He was super close, super freaking close to catching them as Kira. And then basically they had to give up, they gave up the power of the Death Note to save themselves. Right? To save themselves from being completely convicted, they gave up the power of the Death Note, right? And that forced Elle to be at a standstill. Right? And he went to all these lengths, right? So that was before. So Elle was caught, but they were going to kill. And in the meantime, Light was going to use Misa to kill Elle. That was his whole plan, was he was going to use Misa to use her Shinigami eyes to learn Elle's name, to kill him so that he could go on being the god of his new world. Now, that was the plan, right? But then, in all this, Rem was a thorn to Light because Rem was like, she wanted to keep Misa safe. Right? She wanted to keep Misa safe. And so she was going to kill Light. That was her plan, was that if Light acted out of line, she was going to kill Light. Twas the plan, right? That was what was being offered up on the table, right? And so, yeah, that Rem was always a threat to Light. So Light concocted this grand scheme to get rid of Elle and Rem, because Rem's his only threat. Ryuk doesn't care, and Light knows it. So Light knows that Ryuk doesn't care, and he's like, well, fine, whatever. I'll keep Ryuk around, but I don't need Rem. I need to get rid of her, because once Rem's gone, then he can keep using Misa as he's doing, and nobody will stop him, right? Because Rem was doing what I wanted her to do. She was seeing that Light was using Misa, and that Misa was in danger, and I was like, okay, Rem, now's the chance for you to work with Elle and stop him. And nope. So then we have after, right? And the after is that Light regains his power alongside Misa. Misa's life is halved again. But she thinks that's totally fine because Light will love her, so it's cool. And it's like, girl, he ain't never gonna love you, but keep trying. And so then again, Elle is at a standstill. Elle's at a standstill again because once again, Light has put him in a place where he can't do anything. They technically convicted Higuchi, and they proved, and so Light lied and made the fake rules to put Elle at a standstill. He can't do anything because all of the evidence now is a perfect alibi from Misa. He can't convict them, so they have to be let free. And I feel that Elle sees that Light and Misa are the Kiras and that they're going to kill him. He's like, he sees the writing on the wall that he's like, I'm gonna die. So let's talk about Elle and Light, because there was quite a bit in this episode that I was like, what the hell? So we're going to put Light right here. We're going to put Light here. We're going to put Elle over here. And then Watari and Rem, right? So we're going to put Watari up here. Watari here and Rem over here. And I'm going to put Misa over here. We're going to talk about Misa too. We don't get much out of Daddy Yagami or Matsuda or Gogi, or we don't really get anything out of Ryuk this episode. We don't get anything out of Ryuk. Ryuk's following her around, but we don't see him. Ryuk's kind of startlingly absent from this episode. Ryuk is not there. He is absent. He is not our source of comedy. There's no comedy in this episode. It is pretty tragic. But so let's look at the imagery with L. With L, there is sunlight. There's sunlight through trees. It oddly reminded me of the forest where the Death Note was buried, right? It oddly reminds me of where the Death Note was buried, that it was there. Like, it looks like that forest. And so we see a kid on the stairs next to a soccer field. So we see like a playground. We see a playground. And we see like a white, like ash-haired kid, right? So we see a ash-haired child. We see him there, right? And we see some kids running around. And there's kids playing like on the sidewalk chalk. And they're drawing a train and like a house and some different things, right? They're drawing different things. And then we see a bunch of kids playing like cards and toys. So I'm like, is it an orphanage? Is it an orphanage that L's from? Was he an orphan? And we see kids. Now, the way that the kids look is like Attack on Titan. It's very creepy. The kids don't look cutesy or anything. The light is shining on them in a very creepy way. And they don't look, something's off. Something's not right about them. They don't look right. Something's off. And they just are oddly staring towards the light. And then crying against the light. So yeah, so there's a light source. And the kids are either staring or they're crying at it, right? But that light is shining through the window and it's so bright. And then we see gears turning, right? So we see gears turning. And that's kind of been associated with L, this whole series, is the idea of the gears and the clock. And then we see the mosaic, like, yeah, so we see this mosaic and stained glass. Stained glass like a church, right? A lot of religious symbolism in this episode. So I'm like, is it an orphanage at a church? And then the gates to the thing, there are crosses on the gates. So is it like a church orphanage where they've been taken in? And then we see like a chandelier. There's his head next to the flowers. So there's a shadow. There's a shadow of L next to flowers. It's very Attack on Titan. If Isayama looked at this and got inspiration, I wouldn't be surprised, right? Because this came out before Attack on Titan. But then there's snow. And the architecture of it is very European. So it's very European architecture. So we see Watari. I'm going to put him over here. Watari with L in the snow. It's kind of like Batman, but only it's like because Dick Grayson, who's Robin, was kind of taken in, wasn't he? His parents died and he was orphaned. And so it's kind of like Watari is like old Bruce Wayne taking in Robin, right? That's what it kind of reminds me of. But it's snowing and he takes him in and there's this big clock tower. It's Big Ben, isn't it? But there's Watari and he's even older there, right? He looks older there. And there's little child L. He's so tiny. And Watari is old there too, which is curious. And he doesn't say anything. But then he's grabbing his hand. He has a scarf and everything. And he grips his hand tighter. So he has L as a child, right? L as a child. And he grips his hand. Huh. And he has like a white scarf around him. And he looks up at Watari. And so it says, what does it say there? It says does it say woman's house or say Wammas house? There's two M's. Wammas house, Wammas says Wammas house. Okay, I'm gonna put that on here. Wammas house. I don't think that says women's. I think I could be wrong. I think it says Wammas. Which maybe Watari's name is Wammas and they just change it to Watari because it's Japanese, right? But it's like him with the little scarf and the coat. But the house is the one with the crosses and everything. And there's a tower. And there's a tower kind of like the towers. There's a tower there, like the tower that we see Elle on, only that tower is all, that tower, if I'm drawing like a picture of it right here, it has like a spiral and everything, and it's the tall, that's what they focus on, is the tallest tower, like that's where Elle's been kept, kind of like Sleeping Beauty-esque, but it's the top of the tower, but it's all closed in with the one window, and the bells in that tower, and that's what he's hearing. And then he refocuses on the computer. And it's kind of like the way that it's framed is the same way as the OP, right? Oh my God. Okay. And like everything's kind of vignetted. But, oh my God. And then we cut to Watari. And Watari has all the things going. He's like, what's the trouble, Ryuzaki? And the way that he looks at him, like he doesn't even open his eyes. And Elle's just sad. He's like, what's wrong? Like Elle knows he's gonna die. And this episode's called Silence. Like, we don't get to hear Elle's name. We don't know it. Elle is very quiet in this episode because I think he knows he's gonna die. But I'm like, no. Oh my God. So he's questioning the tore piece of paper. He's like, why? He's like, the corner of this page of the notebook from the killer is ripped out. Why is that? He's like, would someone still die if their name was written on the part that had been cut out? And Rem, of course, says, who knows? Which you might as well say yes, right? So Rem is still not answering his questions completely. But Elle is like, okay. He's like, I haven't used it in that way, so I don't know. Which is maybe not a lie. And so he says, then do Shinigami only eat apples? And she says, no. She says, but Shinigami's organs are devolved, no, evolved. I like that she switches that. She's like, no, we've not gone down a step. We've gone up a step instead, right? So Rem makes note that Shinigami do not have to eat. Shinigami do not have to eat. Now, again, they don't have to eat, which makes Ryuk's whole thing about him having the shakes and stuff we don't get as apples all the more ridiculous, because it's like, no, you don't have to have them. But I'm trying to think of any possible way that Elle could not be dead. I'm like, a while ago I was like, well, Elle and Ryuk could get along. Is Elle really a Shinigami in disguise? Was he a Shinigami possessing a human? How's that work? Is that what happened? Please let that be what happened so that he'll live. I was like, I would just let Elle have been possessed by a Shinigami so that he'll live. That way he won't be dead. Because if Elle's not in the story anymore, I'm going to be heartbroken. Because we still have episodes 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. We have 11 episodes left without Elle? You gonna tell me that's the case? No. She's like, there's no need for us to eat. And then he asks for Light. And Light, of course, is behind the stairwell. This part was really scary, though. He says, and Elle is trying to figure out, he's like, you've finally been freed, but you hardly leave the headquarters. He's like, why not? The answer is, he doesn't want to make himself suspicious here in a little bit. Light is keeping himself from suspicion. He's like, you hardly ever leave. He's like, even if Misa comes to visit, you only chat with her for a few minutes. It's like, you're free to go outside and have a love life, you know? Elle's like, you're being suspicious, Light, because he's like, he's questioning Light staying. Which, as the episode goes on, we realize Light is staying because he doesn't want any suspicion on him, no matter what. He doesn't want any suspicion. He wants to stay there and keep an eye. Well, one, he doesn't want any suspicion, so when the killings start again, he can't be seen as an accomplice or seen as partially responsible. And two, he doesn't want to leave Elle's side because he wants to literally be there when Elle dies. It's like, oh my God. So when he says you're free to go have a love life, you know, and Light's like, we still haven't solved the Kira case. I'm not in the mood for love. And that's so kind of ironic that he says that until Kira is caught, as long as there's a Kira case, not in the mood for love. Could not be truer words, right? And Elle's like, okay. And so he's like, or are you trying to say that I'm a nuisance if I stay here? And Elle's like, no, it's not that. He's like, no. And then there's this moment where he stops and he looks back, and it's so creepy because in that moment he's looking at Light, and his face is so distorted by the glass steps, right? His face is distorted and it doesn't look right. It looks creepy. It looks fragmented, right? It looks fragmented. Like there's like a cut, and the cut where it's Light's eyes, the cut where it like cuts there is the same place that it was in the OP. So, and it's almost like he has three eyes there. So it's almost like Elle is piecing. It's like a visual symbolism that Light is a fractured soul. He is not who he says he is. He is not honest with himself. He is fractured. That there are more sides to him, and Elle knows it. He knows it, that Light has a fractured persona. He puts on this image of who he is, but it is a lie. It is not true. And then it cuts. The lack of sound in this episode was disturbing. As soon as they said the episode was called Silence, it's like, well, if you're gonna, stick with the theme of the episode, make it quiet. But that's exactly what he does. And that's what this episode does. It's so quiet. There's no sound. It's just all like just noise, but there's no like musical score. It's very subdued. And he goes and talks to Misa and gives her orders, and then she runs away. And then Light goes back inside. And so we get all of this moment with all the trinkets and all of the, like the cross and all the keys and all the necklaces and everything, all the jewels. Like we get that with her. And he says, right now, I'm in no position to be punishing criminals. So Misa will punish them for me. And it's so, there's this episode's so symbolic in a lot of ways that it's almost like Light, like he's the god up in his tower and he's sending other people to do his work for him because he can't do it. He'll send other people to do his work for him. It's kind of making Light compared to like, I don't know, that the way that they phrase it in the Shinigami world, there's the king of the Shinigami, and then the Shinigamis do the I don't know, it's not been established if the king Shinigami writes and does like the same work as the Death Notes, or if he rules over them. That's not been established. But in this moment, it feels like Light's kind of the human equivalent of that, where he's telling Misa to do stuff for him. And I love that she has to she changes her clothes and disrobes and like strips herself bare for Light, and like to don all of this materialness to get ready to go. And the way that she's drawn here and animated is so gorgeous, but she looks so sad. She looks so sad. And he's like, Misa, let's make a new world together. And it's like she's blinking, and it's just that, and God, her like with the chandelier and everything, she looks like she's just like praying to him, like worshiping him. And so in that moment, Misa is kind of this representation. She is this representation of devotion and worship, and translating that into love. That she loves him so much, she will worship him and do whatever he wants, even if that love does not feel like it's being returned. And it's so, but the imagery, like she just looks so dead inside, like she's just following him without question, and has the rings on, and she has like the maid outfit, which is interesting. But, and I'm wondering, my question is, she's killing all these people. It's obviously before Rem dies, but I'm like, how is she gonna react to Rem not being there? How is Light going to explain Rem not being there? That's the scary thing. I'm like, how is Light going to explain that? How is he going to tell Misa that Rem killed herself to save Misa? How's that going to work? How is he going to spin that? Unless he tells her that Elle was going to arrest her and that's what Rem did. I mean, that's not a lie, I guess, because that's exactly what happened. But but her singing this little song, like the bells and everything, there's a connection there too, right? And it's 4:05. And she sees the people, and she's just going around seeing the people on the news. And she sings, "Be careful." And her walking in them shoes, God is watching. And them shoes are amazing, by the way. I love those shoes. But the lyrics of this song, be careful, God is watching. And that can apply to her being careful because Light is watching out for her. He's paying attention as she's writing the names. And then we just see like this murder. Please hold my hand in the dark alley. Please hold my hand in the dark alley. It's almost as if she's like, if I'm going to do this darkness, if I'm going to murder these people, don't let me do it alone. Like, be with me. Be with me as I do this. Right? Oh, and she's so gorgeous. Like her eyeshadow and everything. Even if I'm alone and far away. Okay. Even if I'm alone and far away. Oh. And everybody's just like walking by her, like the kid and everything. And she sees their lifespans. She sees the lifespans before them. You'll always find me. And there's all the little kids there. You'll always find me. And there's something kind of disturbing about that because she can see all these people's lifespans all the time. Like that would kind of drive you crazy after a while, right? And then you tell me everything you know. You tell me everything you know. Which kind of, again, relates to her relationship with Light. She's like, Light tells me everything. And I know everything from the Death Note. And she's getting the faces of the people. Even if I don't remember. Okay. Even if I don't remember. So like everything he's told her, she may not remember all of it, or everything that's said, she may forget something. You tell me. Okay. And it's the thing of it is, it was in one day. So it's her walking to the bridge, doing these things, and then walking back. Right? 16 people in one day, many times. You tell me many times. Okay. And then she says, I love that shot of her on the bridge. Oh, but what do I do? But what do I do if once I know everything? That's the question, right? So be careful, God is watching. Please hold my hand in the dark alley. Even if I'm alone and far away, you'll always find me. You tell me everything you know, even if I don't remember. You tell me many times, but what do I do once I know everything? Oh, it's so ominous because it's like, yeah, once you get to the top of the ladder, where do you go? What do you do? I don't get good vibes from Misa in all this because if Rem's gone, Rem can't protect Misa anymore. I don't know if Ryuk would. And so I just have a feeling Light's going to keep using her. And if he has to have her life again, he will. But, oh man. I mean, I don't know. Now that Elle's dead, who's going to stop Light? Who's going to stop him? I can't believe this. It's just like Misa's melancholy and Elle's melancholy in this episode. They're both melancholy, and there's all this like the tie to the sun, this tie to religion, this tie of this like symbolism. Like once you know everything, what do you do? When you get to the top of the ladder, where do you go? You can only go, once you're at the top of the ladder, you can only fall down, right? Oh. But we cut back and they say that the number of criminals, the murders of criminals have begun again. There were 16 yesterday. They were broadcast after Higuchi died. That's thorough, isn't it? That means Higuchi. So they're like, well, maybe Higuchi wasn't Kira. And I'm like, well, no, he clearly was. And Light's like, no, we're positive that Higuchi was the one killing criminals until we caught him. And they're like, oh, does that mean another Kira's appeared? And Matsuda's like, why? And God, and the way Light's like, damn it, curse Kira. I was like, you could not get any more Shakespearean ham in that moment than Light being like, curse Kira. Like, that's just so, you're not even trying to hide it now, Light. You're not even trying to hide it. Like, Elle knows. Oh my God, Elle's face at Light doing the curse Kira, he's like so done with Light's shit. He's like, he knows exactly what's up. It's like, oh my God, are you freaking kidding me? He's like, Kira appears now. What's going on? God. And Rem is like, what's going on? Like, yeah, Rem and Elle are on the same page. So Light is trying to frame that there's another Kira. But I'm like, but this is the thing. The thing of it is, I'm like, Light, Misa, you release her and instantly have her start killing people again to like make the situation confusing. But like Elle pointed out, she's the clear and obvious choice to suspect, right? And I think that's intentional. Because Rem's like, there's only Misa. And then Elle's like, this happened as soon as Misa was freed, didn't it? And Light's like, Ryuzaki, are you still saying that? Misa's not involved. And it's like, and Elle's like, it happened as soon as Higuchi died. Or that's what Light says. You're right, Light. Well, if there's another notebook and someone is using it, then, and he crushes that little teddygram, the little pandagram. He's like, if somebody else is using another notebook, then I'll catch him. So yeah, Elle brings up this thing where Elle's like, Elle will catch the other Kira. Right? Elle will catch the other Kira. And Light does not say that. Now, Light tries to deter it from Misa, obviously. But Elle's like, okay, fine. Sure. Light's trying to say, well, the murders only showed up after Higuchi died, not necessarily after we freed Misa. It's really Higuchi's death that it's tied to, not the freeing of Misa. And Elle's like, fine. I'm not going to argue anymore with you, but I'm going to catch whoever it is, no matter what. Oh, and just eating the pandas. But that piece of paper torn off is still bothering him. And it's the fact that the torn piece of paper, it's what Misa used to be able to write the name upon. She had Rem do it, but she had the piece of paper that she tore to let Light know about Ryuk, the other Shinigami. Like, Elle is like, why is this piece of paper torn out? I don't understand. He said the Shinigami said it didn't know. But if someone could kill by writing a name on a clipping from the notebook, that changes everything. Yeah, and so he figures it out. That's the thing, is that Elle figures it all out. He's like, if someone could kill using the clipping of the notebook, the first thing he thinks of is the chip bag. He thinks of the bag of chips and it's like, Light could have had, he's like, it could have been anywhere. It could have been in the bag of chips. It could have been somewhere. He's like, this is all, he just thinks back to Higuchi dying. He connects it. He's like, it's not impossible. That's like Elle's thing is he's like, I may not have solid proof, but the fact that it is a possibility is relevant. So he's like, we can't eliminate all suspicion. But whoever writes a name in this notebook has to write another name within 13 days or they'll die. He's like, that's the only part that doesn't add up. He's like, Light and Misa are still alive. So he's like, 13 days. This is the only thing that's off. Something doesn't add up. He's like, this one rule makes it to where I can't, it's the one point of doubt that he's like, I can't shake. So Elle's like, what am I supposed to do about that? Like the 13, what do we do? And then Light says, even if we do catch the person who is writing in the notebook, then can we really convict and punish them as a serial killer? And I'm like, no, hold on! Just wait a minute. So Light is like, well, can we convict? Can we convict and punish Kira as a killer? I'm like, what were you going to do with Higuchi? Were you just going to slap him on the wrist and let him go? No, you were going to put him in jail. He was either going to get the death sentence or he was going to be imprisoned for life. What do you mean, can we convict and punish it's like Light is trying to go back to that logic that, oh, well, the death note made them do it. And it ties back to that rule. It's like, well, can we really convict them as a serial killer? Because they had to do it. Otherwise, they were going to die. It's like, you can't do that. And Matsuda's like, well, of course we can convict them. It's like, he wrote countless names knowing that people would die. Like, it's not like you just wrote one name a day to keep it's like, you got to convict them at least, because it's not like they wrote one name in the notebook a day to keep from, by the logic of the 13-day rule, if you were really desperate not to die and you were told you had to write a name in the notebook to live, then sure, you wrote a name. And that's still awful and it's not good. But the fact they wrote 16, it's a bit excessive, right? And Matsuda says we should kill him if we don't want the existence of the notebook going public. Their big thing is we need to get rid of Kira so that the public doesn't find out about this notebook and it doesn't get spread around, right? And people don't try to start taking it. And Rem is like, and they say killing him is harsh, but I bet that's what our superiors would demand. So yeah, they're basically saying that we don't necessarily want to kill him, but that's probably what we're going to be ordered to do. And then Elle says if he admits to killing with the notebook, he'd get the death penalty. Or at least a life sentence. Something like that. And then that's when Rem figures it out. What are you thinking, Light Yagami? If Misa is caught, you'll also be. And that's when she realizes it. She puts it together and she's like, you bastard. And he smiles because he knows that she knows. Light Yagami is sure that I will save Misa's life. He knows that she would do anything. In order to save Misa in this situation, I'll have to write Ryuzaki's real name in my notebook. And if I kill Ryuzaki, then she'll disappear. Because I guess then it will definitely add to Misa's lifespan and I will die as well. So this is the most messed up part about all of it, is that Light has intentionally endangered Misa so that he can kill Elle. And not only has he endangered Misa purposefully so that he can kill Elle, but he has also made it to where Rem will have to die as well, because he knows she's going to be the one that's going to do the job. So my thing is, I'm like, Light, why couldn't you wait until Misa came in contact with Elle? I guess he thought it'd never happen. I guess he thought that Elle would be so protective he would never come in contact with Misa again. That Elle was like, he was so suspicious that Elle's like, nope, not getting near her because she could have the Shinigami eyes and I don't want it to happen. So Light, realizing that Misa could not immediately kill Elle, he decides to put Misa in danger and then have so that Rem will kill Elle. But the thing of it is that in effect killing Elle to save Misa is in fact doing, even though Elle's not directly attacking Misa, it is still by definition going against the Shinigami code and it's going to destroy her. And it's going to add, and then he did it not only, son of a bitch, he did it not only to get Rem out of the way so that she couldn't eventually kill him like she said she was going to, because Rem was like, I'll kill you if you endanger Misa. Light noticed, he knew that Rem was going to figure it out, that he was using Misa and possibly would endanger him. And so now not only did he get rid of Elle and get rid of Rem, who was his worst enemy in this, but he added to Misa's life. He added to Misa's life. So he's like, it's fine. We'll be together for a long time, you and I, because I'm going to add to your lifespan by killing your bestie, Rem. I'm like, Light he intentionally put her in danger and intentionally killed Rem and Elle. Like, the people that... Rem did all of this for Light. She did all of this for Light under the guise that it was to save Misa. And how did Light repay her? By putting Misa in danger again and killing Rem. I'm trying to be as sympathetic towards Light as I can, but this episode, it is hard, my friends, because Light did not do good things in this episode at all. No! And she's like, I'll die as well. Like, if you want to root for Light being a total psychopathic mastermind in this, yes, Light was ruthless and insanely intelligent in his planning in this, but damn it, that bastard. Oh my god. Light Yagami's making everything go his way. Oh, and just that smile. He's like, what are you going to do, Rem? I know completely that despite being a Shinigami, you care deeply about Misa. Oh, Misa's life has been halved and there's no way you'd abandon her. Oh my god. Think about Misa's happiness. He just uses people. He uses them and then he discards them. Damn it, no. And Rem's like, are you freaking kidding me? God, I feel... Oh, and the red eyes. He doesn't even have the ideal and there's red eyes. I think it's noticeable that there's no Shinigami rules in this episode. This is the first time in this series we've had no rules. None. No intermission cards, nothing. It's the first time. I'm like, at that point I was like, we're just screwed, aren't we? So then, after that, and I also am noticing that the Death Note thing is a cross in the background. Of course it is. But then we cut to the rain. And Light walking down the hallway is like he walks in the OP. It's that same rhythm. Him walking down that hall. And walking through the alleyway that's shaped like a cross, you know, like we do. Like he's just thinking and contemplating. Like he doesn't even look like he just looks just obsessed, right? And then we cut to the rain. Now, at this point, this scene is insanity to me. Because we've had lots of primary colors in this episode, like the red, blue, and greens in this show as a whole. But there's red, blues, and yellows in this rain scene that's being reflected. But on the rooftop of the tower, at the top of the tower, and it's almost like Light's like, he goes up to see... Why did Light go to the top of the tower? He's almost surprised to see Ryuzaki up there. Did Ryuzaki tell him to come up there? I feel like Ryuzaki told him to come up there. Because otherwise, why would he have gone, right? Why did Light go to the top of the tower? Why did he do it? Unless Ryuzaki told him to go up there and meet him up there and he was like, okay. And that's why he looked a little bit wary and apprehensive going up there. But then the thing that's insane about this is that there's the giant satellite dish, right? There's a giant satellite dish that L is like in perfect. He almost looks like an upside down L that he's standing in the rain against. I'm like, what is this rain scene? And I don't know how else to describe it, but L looks the best he's ever looked in the rain. I don't know how else to say it. He looks beautiful in this scene. Like in the scene where he's in the rain and he's just getting like showered upon, he looks beautiful. And he looks so serene and calm. Like he's accepted whatever's about to happen. But he just looks so sad. And I'm like, I don't know how else to frame it. It's just, he looks so sad. And it looked like he was crying there. Like he was like, I'm gonna die. Like there's a moment where he like has the water droplet come off his face like he's crying. And then he looks over, he looks like Ulquiorra from Bleach. He looks like Ulquiorra from Bleach, right? Misa's Orihime and Light is Ichigo. He looks like Ulquiorra. But he looks over to Light. And Light is like, what? Why are you out in the rain, Ryuzaki? And he's like, what are you doing there? And of course, he can't hear him. And he can't hear him in there. And he motions to him that he can't hear. Right? And Light is like, I don't want to get my nice designer clothes wet. He says, what are you doing there? And he's still... That look where he has his hand up against there. What is the point of that look? What is the point of it? Why does he like smiling like, huh? Come out here, I can't hear you. Why does he have that smile on his face? Why didn't he walk towards Light? Why did he get him to come out in the rain? Why does he look like that? Because at this point, I was like, what is he getting ready to do? I thought I had in my head all these scenarios going on of what could happen. I'm like, is Ryuzaki going to try to jump off the roof? Is he going to think it's the end and he's going to commit suicide? Is he going to try to corner Light and attack him? Is he going to try to lure him out there and tell him some secret? Which he kind of does. But he's like, why? What does he do? Why does he have that look on his face? Animators, explain! And Light's like, what the fudge? Like, why are you bringing me out into the rain? And he decides to go out in there and he's like, okay, whatever. And he comes out into the pouring rain. And I think it's, and then L just looks so, he's like, what are you doing, Ryuzaki? And he says, well, I'm not doing anything in particular, but the sound of bells. And he's like, bells? He's like, yes, the bells have been really noisy today. There's something supernatural going on with Ryuzaki. Like, why is he hearing bells? Like, I know the obvious thing is like, oh, well, he's about to die. His life flashing before his eyes. But I'm like, why would he be hearing bells? Has he been hearing bells this whole time? Has that been happening since the start of this? Every episode of Death Note has ended with the sound of bells. What? I'm like, is something supernatural tied to L and we're just now kind of figuring out about it? Should we not have killed L? Did Light just make a big boo-boo in killing L? Because he talks about hearing bells. He hears bells. And he talks about hearing it in the rain. But it's like, why is he standing out there? And he's like, it's been really noisy today. And Light's like, what the fudge? Like, I don't hear any bells. I don't hear anything. And he says, really? He's like, they've been ringing all day. And I can't help but feel curious. Do you suppose it's a church? A wedding? Oh. He's like, or perhaps. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, don't say such silly things. Let's go back. And we see like the ladder, right? The ladder going up to the big disc there, going up to the satellite. And Ryuzaki's like, oh. And he's like, I'm sorry. And then he like hunches in on himself and says, everything I say is complete nonsense. So, what is happening? Oh. Everything is complete nonsense, so please don't believe any of it. Something's going on. Something, he says that he's speaking in nonsense. He says, I'm speaking nonsense, so don't listen to me. And Light's like, what the hell? And he's like, what is going on? This is just mind-boggling, this scene in the rain. And then L's just I'm just trying to like, he just looks so depressed and sad in that moment. And I'm like, do you need a cookie, please? And he says, that's right, Ryuzaki. Most of what you say is nonsense. And that seems like such like a little jab at him. Like, it's all right. Most of what you're saying is nonsense. Like us being friends or you thinking that you're as good as me. You know, he's like, there would be no end if I took you seriously all the time. Like, Light's trying to make him feel better in his weird psychopathic ways. He's trying to make him feel better. He's like, I know that the best. Do you now? It's almost like you're friends. But, and Elle's like, yes, that's right, Light. Like, yeah, we are buddies, remember? Before you decided to kill me? But it's true for the both of us. And he's like, what? What do you mean? And this is the point where there is absolute silence. There's nothing in this moment. He's like, have you ever told the truth at any point since you were born? He asks Light that, have you ever spoke the truth? That part was the scariest shit. It was like Light grabbing the notebook where it went silent, scary. Because it's like he saw right through him in that moment. Elle's like, I can't trust anything you say at all. He's like, you're going to kill me. And here you are acting like we're friends. He's like, but you're not telling the truth. He's like, at any point, he's like, this whole time I've had you cornered over and over again. And you've lied through your teeth this entire time. He's like, do you realize that? He's like, have you always been telling a lie to yourself this whole time? And then at that point, Light's like, what? And it's just silence. Like they both look at each other and they know. And they know who each other are. He's like, what are you talking about? And then Light tries to deflect. He's like, oh, I lie once in a while. He's like, but how many people live their entire lives only telling the truth? He's like, come on. And Elle doesn't have an answer. He's like, humans aren't perfect. Everyone lies. Even so. That line there, I feel like that point is the antithesis to all of this, right? Is that Light says that humans are not perfect. Humans are not perfect. Everyone lies. Everyone does something bad. If we equate lying to something bad, Light is saying everyone does something bad. No one's perfect. Well, by that logic, that kind of goes against that kind of makes Light's entire mission sort of stupid, right? Because he's saying that he's told Misa, he's like, we're gonna have this perfect world where everyone's kind. Only the good people live. Only the good people will survive. But he just admitted to Elle, he's like, well, humans aren't perfect. There's no such thing as that. Everyone lies at some point or time. Well, then how are you gonna have a perfect world where there's no crime and no one does any bad things if you just said that everyone at some point does something bad? When does it stop? That's what Ryuk was getting at when he first gave him the death note. He's like, at some point, most people go mad because they realize there is no end to it. You can't stop the world from having people do wrong or do crime. It's not possible. There's always going to be conflict with humanity. Humans aren't perfect. Everyone is going to lie or do something at some point or hurt someone. You can put rules in place to try to stop that so it's not chaos. But Light saying that he's going to just kill all the bad people, well, by what he just told Elle, everybody is capable of being bad. So how do you have judgment over who gets to say what is bad and what is not bad? Like it just, and I know there's a lot more to it, and I could sit here and break it down more, but it's just in that moment, it's almost like Elle was trying to get Light to realize that the death note, it does give you power to do things your way. He's like, but where do you draw the line? At what point do you stop? Because right now, Light just killed 16 people. Like, when does it stop? And he didn't even do it. He had Misa do it. He's like, when does this whole thing, when do we reach the conclusion with it? And I like that Elle just gets him to point that out, right? And he says, even so, I've been careful not to tell lies that hurt others. I don't know if that's true, though. He's like, I've told lies that don't hurt others. But it's still a lie. And it's like, how does Light know that they're not hurt, right? It's like, how does he know? Because seeing Misa walk across that bridge, killing people because she's doing it for Light, she didn't look happy. She didn't look happy about it. She didn't look happy that she was doing what Light wanted her to do. She didn't look happy that she was killing all these people, but she was doing it because her love for Light was stronger than the morality of those people living or dying. So it's like, you say you're not hurting others, but Light, how do you know? It's just, it's so intricate. This whole scene in the rain is so intricate. It's almost like everything is washing off of Elle and everything's washing away from Light. And there's these two guys just burying themselves on top of this tower. Oh my God. He's like, that's my answer. And Elle just looks at him like, you're not like that. He's like, I don't agree with that. But he smiles. He says, I thought you'd say that. But yeah. And Light looking at him like, what is wrong with you? And he looks so soft at him. It's like, you're planning on killing him in like, 2 days. He's like, let's go back. We're drenched. So then he's like, yeah. So then they go inside, and this whole scene, they take his shoes off. This whole scene where Light is like he took his shoes off and his feet are bare. And he's also no socks for Light. Just shoes and no socks. What a monster. No, at least Elle, but Elle did the same thing. He wore shoes without socks. He's like, well, that was awful. And he's like, well, it's your fault. You were standing in the rain. This whole scene, they just sounded like a BL couple, this whole scene. This is like the most homoerotic scene in the entire series so far. And he's like, you're right. I'm so sorry. And then he's like, oh. And they're in the light there. And then I like that he's like, what are you doing, Ryuzaki? So I wanted to look this up real quick of washing feet. And scripture of washing feet in the Bible. I wanted to look this up real quick. It was John 13:2-17 that he recounts Jesus's performance of this action. He instructs his disciples, if I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash another one's feet, for I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. And so the early Christian church introduced the custom to imitate the humility and selfless love of Jesus, who washed the feet of the 12 apostles at the Last Supper the night before his crucifixion. Light, did you just kill Jesus? I'm like, wait a minute, Light, you say that you're God, but did you just kill Jesus? Is this how we're going with this? And he says, what are you doing? And he says, I thought I'd help you since you're enthusiastically drying yourself off. Yeah, it's the same thing, right? No. And he's like, well, you don't have to do that. He's like, I can give you a massage as well. Want to make note, Light did not turn down the massage. Did not turn down the massage from Elle. Make it known. Just write it up here. Did not turn down massage. Didn't do it. He was just like, oh, well, if you get down with my feet, I guess if you just really feel like my shoulders are a little tense, I'm not going to stop you. I'm just, oh. He says, it's the least I can do to atone. To atone. And then Light's like, well, you are like atoning. That makes me sound quite godly. I guess I'll let you do that. Sure. He says, I'm pretty good at it. And he's like, do as you please! Do as you please! You didn't say no! He's like, wash my feet, give me a massage. I mean, I'm gonna kill you in 5 minutes, but sure. And he looks so good here. Him and Elle both look so good. But so for the record, Elle is good at massages. Not that we'll ever know that. Not that we'll ever know. But it's just like he says he's gonna wash Light's feet or dry them to atone. To atone for his sins. Being like, well, I guess I was wrong, I guess. But I'm like, Light, what? He says, all right. And so then he like sits there and dries them. But he touches it, he like pokes him a little, like massages him a little bit, and Light's like, For the record, I don't like having my feet touched, so I'd be like, And he's like, hey. He's like, you'll get used to it. So he's massaging them. But then the water drops from his head onto his feet. And Light like wipes his hair off as well. And he says, I'm sorry. And I'm like, what? Just, why does Light look so good there? Why does he look so damn good in those shots? I can't. And it's the sunlight pouring in on the two of them. And Elle is sitting there like as the rain is like dropping off of his hair. And he's just like he's drying his feet. Just to atone. But that was the action that Jesus did to his apostles. Oh my God. Like, why did you kill Jesus? Did you kill Elgis? Yeah, it's so symbolic. And I'm like, and it's the idea of doing one good turn. Like Elle does something nice to you at the end. And how are you going to repay him? Well, you're going to kill him. And then there's the cross bridge right after it. You're subtle, show. How subtle? And he says, it's sad. He's like, what? And at that moment, like, Elle looks the best he's ever looked with his hair down that. He says, it's sad. We'll soon part ways. He's like, yeah, you know. And then he gets up and moves. And he asked yes. And he says, all right, I'll come immediately. So he knew something was up, right? And then I wanted to go back through this, what he set up, but Light was just like, what in the world? And he's like, let's go, Light. It seems it went well. Like, he knows this is going to be it. He's putting Light into a corner where he's going to have to act. Like, he knows something's about to go down. I don't know if I can watch this. I'm going to have to listen to this in the dub. And then, yeah, we cut to the tower in the rain. The watchtower in the rain. Like, the tower throughout all of this series and the OP and everything, and it's just storming. Of course it is. But he goes in, and so they're like, Ryuzaki, what is the meaning of this? I heard that you got approval from another country to use a notebook for an execution. And he's like, Watari, good job. So they got approval. So approval to use the notebook, to test it out. And he tells Watari, good job for getting set up. And Watari says, not at all. I know it's sudden, but let's make arrangements to transport the notebook. And so then, now Light's like, what do you mean? Why are we transporting the notebook? Why are we taking it away? He's like, that's not part of the plan. What's going on? And L says that it means that I'm going to try out the notebook for real. And Light's like, this was not part of the plan. So L to write in the notebook. It's interesting. I'm like, so this was what I thought the plan was going to be, right? They explain at this point. He says, that's pointless. We don't have to do that at this point. He's like, we already know the power of the notebook's real, don't we? So who's going to write the name? Once you write in the notebook, you'll have to continue writing names every 13 days forever. So I thought that the whole point of him doing this was because he's like, okay, well, this is how we're going to prove that this rule is a lie. It is the only rule that does not make sense. He's like, everything else in this notebook we can tie to something that has happened. But he's like, this rule right here doesn't make sense with the timeline. It doesn't make sense with anything. It just seems like it's just there. It doesn't add up. So, of course, L, being bold, he's like, well, that's fine. And maybe him telling Light that they were going to part ways soon was him being like, I'm going to write in the notebook. I'm not going to write anything else. I'm going to write one name in the notebook and do it once. And then after that, I won't write anything for 13 days and we'll see what happens. And if I die, I die. And if I don't, then we've proven that the rule is false. That's why I thought this was going. I was like, oh, well, he's bought more time. L's bought more time. He's going to convince Light and them that they're going to wait 13 days to see it's false. Or like L was like, this is the catalyst. He's like, now I'm forcing Light's hand. If Light lied and made up this rule, I'm forcing him to either admit it or to attack me or to do something, to make a move. He's like, I'm striking. L said that he who strikes first wins. He's like, I'm striking. I'm doing something off kilter. But Light fires right back. And then he says, the one who's going to write the name is someone who will be executed within 13 days. If he's still alive after 13 days, then we've made a deal to commute his execution. So L wasn't actually going to write the name in the book himself. He was going to have somebody that was on death row that was supposed to die in 13 days, write the name in the book, and then if they didn't die, then that would prove the rule was false. And they'd commute the execution. Okay, that makes sense. But they don't get to that point. They're like, but we can't sacrifice people's lives. And he says, just a little more. If we can just clear this, then the case will be solved. Yeah, he's like, I've got this. If we can prove that the rule is false, he's like, I'm going to be able to tie this all together. He's like, I just need to know this one thing, and that's what I need. And then that's when the lightning strikes, and Rem, and then the power goes out. And then Elle's like, okay. And Rem, poor Watari, no! Watari showing up to kill Watari. Or Rem showing up to kill him. Oh. And God, Watari, you beautiful man. Like, we see his eyes, and his eyes kind of looked like L's. So in that moment, like, we do see Watari's eyes, and he's looking at L, looking at him in the camera, right? He's looking at him there. So we do see that Watari, his eyes are the same as L's. And him looking at that. And he's like, Watari? Oh my dude. And you see he erased all the data. All data deletion. And he's like, I told Watari to erase all information in the event that something happened to him. And L knows. Yep. So basically, they've lost everything. Like, all the data on Kira, everything's gone. Everything. So on the one hand, that sucks because they've erased all the data. But on the other hand, now Light can't go snooping around. Now, the question is, how much data did Light download before this happened? Because he's been on the computer the last 2 episodes that we've seen him. Looks like he's been transmitting data. Knowing Light, he's transmitted probably a lot of that data already. He's like, I transmitted to my thumb drive, my hard drive, ha ha ha. And it'll be like that. But I don't think he got anything on L. I think anything that could have been decoded has been erased. And they're like, if something happened, and they're like, could it be? And he's like, where's the Shinigami? And they're like, we don't see it. But she wrote the name in the death note. And they ask what the meaning is, and he says the Shinigami. And yeah, thanks, Light. Way to go, Light. You killed him. Good on you. And then it just has the heart attack. And he dropped the spoon. And he falls out of the chair the same way that he fell when he first learned about the Shinigami. He falls out of the chair the same way he fell when he first learned about the Shinigami. Oh my God. Like, why? Why? Oh my God. I can't. And Light watches him fall. But he caught him! He caught him! No, you didn't have to catch him! He caught him. Oh my God. Like, yeah, he's like, Ryuzaki, what's wrong? And he caught him so that you could hold him in your arms. And then, yeah, God, Light, L's face. Oh. His face in that moment, his eyes, they're so black, but you can see his eyes in that moment. They're like almost blue. They're like so black, but they're almost blue. And he's looking up and seeing the kid crying and everything. And seeing the church and everything. And then, oh God, Light. And then Rem, we see her dissolving. And then he smiles. Oh my God, Light. And we see all of it in the sunlight and everything. And then at that moment, yeah, L. His eyes, they're like a gray color. Oh my God. Oh. And then Light, he looks like the devil. He looks like the devil. Like, just looking down at him, he does not look like a god, how that would look. And he smiles at him. Oh my God. And that look where he's just smiling at him, looking so... Because then we see, like, L looking up at him, like, with this fear in his face, like he knows that he's Kira in that moment. Oh my God, that animation on that. It's so... I'm like, Daddy Yanami, do you not see your son smiling at this corpse? Isn't that a little bit creepy? But yeah. Oh. And then his eyes just like lose that light in them. Oh. As he closes them. And he smiles, and then it goes back, and then it goes back, and then it goes back because he has to put on an act, right? He can't savor this moment that he's killed Elle. He can't savor it because he has to look like he's concerned. He has to lie. He has to put on an act and lie about it. And so instead, in that 1 second, oh my God. He's like, Ryuzaki, what's wrong? Get a hold of yourself. Oh. And then him screaming. I'm not going to take a screen cap of it because it's a lie. He's putting on an act. He says, we're going to be killed. Watari, Ryuzaki, we're next. He puts on an act. He just lies in that moment. Like, what can you believe about Light anymore? Because he makes everybody, I'm like, your dad has heart disease, Light. Why are you trying to give him another heart attack, Light? Your dad doesn't need to suffer like that. Like, he makes them all terrified in that moment. And then tells them they need to go find the Shinigami. And he's like, damn it. He says, where are you, Shinigami? Come out. It's like, you're such a liar. And he's like, you must know something. Come out. Like, he knew exactly what he was doing. Oh my God. And they asked Mogi to take care of him. Oh, Mogi. Having to sit there and hold a dead man's body? That's not cool. And that's when he finds the remains of Rem. And he takes the notebook back. Oh my God. Yeah, just stuffs it in his back pocket. And then acts like, and he's like, everyone, and just acts. He just puts on another lie. And they realize it's sand, and they're like, what's going on? And he's like, whatever it is, whatever happened. He's like, I'll avenge Ryuzaki. I'm like, you're his murderer. Solving this case will be our gift to Watari and the other victims for all people. Oh my God. And they're like, that's right, Light. Yeah. And he's like, Matsuda's like, well, we're going to be killed, so what does it matter? Isn't that what this means? He says, if you're scared. And the way he says it, if you're scared, die and leave the investigation. And they're like, don't you start sounding like, he's like, only people who have chosen to risk their lives should be here. And he's like, oh, well, that's right. He's like, don't talk like Ryuzaki. No, do not talk like Ryuzaki. You don't get to do that. You don't get to kill him and then become him. No. My God. Yep. So that's where we're at. And then Light, again, just like in the OP, walking down the hallway. Instead of walking up to the tower, he's walking down the hall now that he's done the deed. And saying, everyone in my way is gone. Rem was in his way, she's gone. Elle was in his way, Watari was in his way, they're gone. And then, yeah. He's like, I'm the god of the new world. Oh my God. Light, honey. I just refuse to believe that, I don't know. Oh, there's a shot at the end of this. I paused the ED, and there was a shot in the ED that was of him. Oh, there was a shot of Light at the end of the ED, and in the ED there was like a figure crouched like Elle in his sights. Interesting. I'm a little pissed at Light in this episode, if you couldn't tell. And it's mainly because I'm like, Light, honey. Like, Rem's gone, Watari's gone, Elle's gone. Like, Light won, but I don't feel happy about it. I'm like, but in this episode, like, Elle saw right through him. He saw right through the act and was like, you've never told the truth. You've always lied about yourself to yourself. He's like, you're putting up a facade now? He's like, have you ever been truthful? And then Light makes the thing, well, no one's perfect. Everyone lies. I don't know. There's a part of me that doesn't want to believe. I don't want to believe that Elle is dead because we didn't get to hear his name. And it seemed like this was, when I first saw this thing, I was like, oh, sudden backstory, that's not good. But we didn't really get any backstory. We just got some imagery. So I feel like there's more to it than that. I feel like there's more to Elle's story than those brief moments. But I feel like we're not getting it yet. And so I don't know if we never will get it, or if Elle's actually legitimately dead and gone, heartbroken. Heartbroken. But if he's legitimately dead, heartbreaking. But I'm sorry, y'all can't convince me that this episode is like the most twisted BL ship in the world. It's like the ultimate frenemies. It's like the ultimate enemies to lovers. Except now Elle's dead, so what do we do with that? What was the point of telling Misa to go learn his name and stuff? I guess to get rid of Rem, but if she could have done it all on her own. Like, I guess what was going to happen, my big question in all of this is that clearly when he realized that she couldn't remember his name, he realized he was going to have to get rid of Rem, because otherwise Rem was going to catch on that he was using Misa again, and she was going to probably try to kill him in the long run. But my thing is, what if she had remembered his name? I guess, and Rem didn't die. Then how is he going to keep using her without Rem, with Rem being there? So I don't know. I'm very sorry, but I'm going to go ahead and watch episode 26. I can't help it. It's not that late, and I'm like all hyped up on adrenaline now, so I'm going to go pour up another cup of coffee and sit down and watch episode 26. And then go from there. So if you have comments down below, that'd be great. I'll incorporate them into future episodes. Don't worry. I'm sure I'll catch up. I'm sure I'll need to catch up with other series, and then I'll catch up on comments on here. So no worries. But I can't, for the sake of spoilers and everything else, I can't. So please don't spoil me. But I've never done this before. I've never watched 2 episodes back to back for a series, but this will be the first time. But damn it, if I've lost Elle, then it's worth it. So cheers, bitches. I'm going to go and pour another cup, and we'll see what's going to happen next. So I would cry, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful something is going on. Maybe Elle might be dead, but his spirit or soul or whatnot will live on, right? We'll see. We'll see. So in any case, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care. But yeah, I'm gonna be back for episode 26 of Death Note here very soon. Bye.